SPX500.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich.
Hello, everybody. I muted myself. I'm unmuted now. Okay. Well, second show this week. Let's see. Hello, Raphael. Wow, first one here. Congratulations. You get a special prize for that. You get to ask me any question you would like, and then I get to choose if I'm going to answer it or not. Okay, so what do you guys want to talk about first? We always talk about S&P first normally because I think that's the most important market to get a broader view of, but we could talk about crypto first if you want. I mean, maybe you're the only person here, Raphael. What do you want to talk about? What's the most exciting thing going on in the market for you right now that you need to make more money? Because that's what trading's about, right? I mean, trading at the end of the day is about making money. That's the most important thing, I think. I mean, the most important thing is being right, and then once you're right, then you make money. So I don't know. It's like chicken and egg thing, right? Where do you see global liquidity going for the next 6 months? Yeah, I see it going up. Trump has outright said he wants to run the economy hot, which means lowering interest rates, pumping liquidity into stocks and crypto and stuff like that. It's very, very obvious. Let's look at U.S. dollar destruction. Okay, let's look at DXY here. So you can see DXY on a daily is at a 9, but at the same time, I think we do have a breakdown here. Oh, it's just barely, yeah, it's broken down. So you've got a support level, but then you've got a breakdown on a RSI. And then you also have a breakdown here, but also a support. So very conflicting area. This is where we kind of refer to like a weekly, right? A weekly's still heading higher, but at the same time being stopped by the 50-day, even though the MACD is positive, with a rejection on the weekly 7, and still in this uptrend. Regardless, though, the dollar compared to the last couple of years is weak comparatively. And that's what Trump wants, right? He wants an industrialized economy, export economy. He wants to turn the U.S. out. He doesn't want the U.S. to be primarily a consumer economy anymore. He also wants them to be a production economy, and that's what he's trying to change. And that happens when you have to lower the value of your currency to make your products more compatible. I'm reading in the comments. I need to go off-site, off-grid, working for the government for the next 2 weeks. Will you do my trading for me, Julian? Well, probably not. But maybe if you pay me enough. I don't know. I think you're fine. Probably just watch this show and then reach a conclusion at the end, and I think you'll be fine for the next 2 weeks. So okay, that's kind of the general feedback on that global liquidity question. Going back to markets, it doesn't seem like this is going to roll over. Like the common theme in the Trump economy has been, okay, we dump the market, which is what happened here, and they also did it here. And then what happens is you reach this like pause point before a new all-time high, and you sit here for a few days, and then it blasts off higher. So that's exactly what's happening here. We're sitting here, and I think what's going to happen is we're just going to blast off higher again. That seems to commonly be Max Payne. Every time people think we top out, but we end up going higher. My gut says that's what's playing out again. And if we look at, so something new that I'm using that I use now every day, and we're probably going to look at putting a form of it, like this is Mentor Q, but we're probably going to look at sourcing the data ourselves and making our own version that will be more helpful. Oh, hello, Cotter. Okay. All right, well, I'll give my advice and you can send me 25% of the gains. So this is net GEX data. So essentially dealer positioning, like broker positioning. and where they need the price to be to hit their targets, and they'll adjust just dynamically based on the market, not based on any events or anything. It's all just number based, and you can see that you have call resistance at 7,000, port support at 65,000. So this red line and this green line. And you have price, spot price, 6858. We're actually at 6872 now, because the simplest way to look at this is price is attracted to this giant green line. Whatever the biggest line is on the chart, that's kind of where price is attracted to. There's this other line called HVL where things will move differently depending on if you're above the HVL or below. I'm not going to go into detail on this, but you can copy the screenshot and put it into Gemini or something and have them explain it. But basically, when we're above it, price should accelerate to hit that large green line, which is the main reason why markets are not dropping. Like, I had a TD9 on the daily, I had a TD9 on the 4-hour. Like, price should have pulled back yesterday. There should have been some sort of pullback. But you can see every time you had even a little bit of a pullback, it was bought up and we went higher. That's mainly driven by this. This is dealer positioning saying, okay, well, we make the most money if it goes to this area. Think of it as like an improved modern version of the options open interest. This is all driven by options market positioning and dealer positioning. So this is something you're going to see a lot more of around TRI, especially in the new year. This is going to be part of our new Pro Tools suite that we're going to be working on. It's not going to be in this form. It's going to be in what I believe will be a better way of presenting the data. We're also looking at a bunch of things we can do with crypto, where liquidation data is extremely useful, but not in the way you're used to seeing it. So there's like this kind of liquidation data and these liquidation heat maps, right? But we're going to be doing it in an easier to digest way, where you don't have to flip through all the time frames and try to sort, which time frame matters now and what are the targets. It's going to be a lot more fluid, where maybe 3 months will no longer matter and we'll exclude it, and we'll kind of explain why. But that's some tools that we're working on. So let me go back to the positioning. That's kind of why we keep heading higher. It's also likely max pain. Like, a lot of people were hedged here, including me. I've since removed my hedges because I think we're just gonna head higher up to here, 6,900, and then maybe blast off all the way to 7,100. But right now, because of the positioning, we're gonna pin to like 7,000. So we're not gonna go above. Basically, you're not gonna go above here, and you're likely going to run into the resistance here, 69.05. So that's right there, right? That's right above that high. That makes sense. You take out the liquidity, maybe there's going to be a bit of a rejection. So that's what I'm seeing. And you can see how the daily is starting to cross over. If this crosses over, there's going to be a big acceleration to the upside. And this red line was yesterday's like JEX main gamma point. So this is why price went to this level and it just stopped there. That was yesterday's resistance level, but now it's shifted, and now the new level is essentially here, 7,000. and that's the level that price is now attracted to. All right, hopefully that makes sense. So it looks like we're going to get the Christmas rally, where it's already December 5th. We're not getting any sort of pullback. I was really thinking we would get something like this, and then I'll move higher. But it seems like we're just gonna do this slow grind up, and maybe that's max pain. Now, I'm not saying that there's 100% chance that this happens. There's maybe still a 20% chance that this happens. But looking at dealer positioning and looking what's going on with the market, it looks more likely we're gonna just slowly move higher. Yeah, I don't see 7,600. That's extreme. I mean, we can go to a weekly chart. I have a hard time seeing that. I don't even know how you would create that. But originally I was targeting some sort of pullback to like 6,600, but now it doesn't look like that's happening. Even though you can see right? We had all these breakdowns. There's a lot that says, you know, we've got this massive divergence, we should roll over. But the reason for the thumbnail being the way it is because I think there's some shadow work going on behind the scenes to essentially juice, you know, global liquidity. And we can look at that here, right, with the Bitcoin chart. On the Bitcoin chart, and you can see how now, since like this is shifted, but this would be, like, I can put it at 0 days, right? And we'll look at it. Usually it takes some time to come through, but if we go to here, you can see how it's rising and then it continues to rise. This is the latest data. So even though it says March 7th, imagine it being today, and you can see how it's just pushing higher, and it looks like it wants to reach all-time highs, which will drag the entire market up. Like everything just goes higher based on that, right? It doesn't really drop. The only time it dropped was back here in 2023, 2024 area, which is when we got the big drop with Bitcoin. That was the only time you had a major drop. And then also back here in 2022, you had the major drop and then the final reversal, which marked the bottom right here, right? Slight difference in time frame, but you get the main picture. And now it's just been up only for all of 2025, basically since Trump has been in office. Although you can see up until the election, they were pushing it massively, and we got the drawdown, which caused the market crash, which was during his tariff talks, and he said he didn't care about the market. And then we got the move, the big move, and it hasn't stopped. He's just running it very hot. Same on NQ, NASDAQ, you know, so you have a TD8, a TD9. Like this is a warning. And you could see last time this came in, we topped for a while and then we eventually rolled over. Same here, TD8, 9, eventually had a big drop. TD8 and 9, we kept rising before having a pullback, back to the same level. TD9 here dropped. This one, we eventually dropped. So almost all of them, we do eventually get some kind of pullback before a move higher. Even this one, a bit of a drop. So something you can take from this is generally, by the time the 7th candle comes in, you will get at some point you will get a candle that comes below the 9th candle, the 8th or 9th candle. And you see it here, see it here, see it here. Essentially almost every single one except maybe this one. You did have price go below the 8th candle. So if we're here, right, and these candles are not that big, but let's say worst case, you go below the 7th candle, you'll come down to like 25. I mean, if we go to the S&P, maybe it's easier. Right, so here's the 7th candle and the 8th candle. Maybe you go back down to 6,800, that's it. Or worse, 67. Like that's all you go to, and then you move higher. We take out all of the price action since November 27th. Something like that. But as of right now, the dealer positioning says, you know, we're magneting to this 69 to 7,000 level. That's kind of what's happening in the short term, and it looks like it just keeps moving higher. I don't see any breakdown, even though we should have had some kind of breakdown, but it didn't happen. You can see on the 4-hour, you did get a move below, but it was quickly bought up because the market wants to push us higher. I mean, we can look at options data is still valid. It's not completely. Oh, we can refresh this. Also, we can look at this. Let's see if the account's getting drawn down. I go to 1 year. Still not really a big drawdown yet. There's still a lot in treasury general account. You know, so they could juice the market with this. They built this up from July to October. They could definitely, you know, pump the market here. What are your thoughts there, buddy? Okay, I'll look at it, Cotter, in a minute. Let's look at expiration for today. So you've got a big wall at 68.50 and a put wall at 6800. It's not a lot of calls though, but this is kind of the 68.50. So if we compare that with the JEX, yeah, you're not going to go below 6800, and you probably won't go above 69. So 68.50 maybe we stay around this level. I could see us closing around this. Don't expect like major volatility going into tomorrow, or yeah, tomorrow for you guys, today for me. Okay, Cotter asked about Dow Jones. Dow Jones DIA 530. Huh. Let's look at a monthly chart. Look at this thing. It just keeps going up. It doesn't up only since basically 2008. Like if you had money at the bottom of 2008, you did very well. You did very, 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 very well. 600%. Oh, it's ridiculous. His market is just ridiculous. Trying to look for a range. We really didn't range that much. I mean, 2021 to 2023 was a bit of a range, but not as much as I'd like to see. I mean, the best I can do is kind of line up where pauses happen. So this 1.618 was a pause. This 2.618 was a pause. And then 4.669 is at 55.550. So that might be a potential target. You could also do like a, let me make sure we're in a regular scale. You could also do something like this. Like this is maybe A, B. Sometimes I think this is too simplistic, but it does seem to work. So that points to 500 as a potential target. So definitely higher to go. And the 2-week chart is definitely still bullish. No real divergence coming in. I mean, you do have this divergence in the weekly, right? But it just keeps pushing higher. It's not really playing out. Something like this. And then eventually a 4.669 that could be tagged. I'm not sure where your 530 comes from, Cotter, but I could see anywhere in this area. So 530 is right in the middle, right there, right? Hello, Ursus. I only have 7 people. Maybe it's because of my time. Just terrible with that timing. Probably would have been better if I did it at 10 a.m. It looks like it just wants to keep going higher. I mean, I don't. Going on a daily chart. I mean, the daily's a mess. You can't really. The indicators are worthless here. You have a TD8. So again, that whole potential double top scenario. Weekly looks like it wants to continue higher, although you have divergence. Yeah, it's at a difficult spot. I think the SPX and the NASDAQ are a little bit clearer than the Dow Jones, but it probably will eventually push higher. I think you can just sit in longs and you're probably fine. That's my viewpoint on that. I think SPX is a little bit clearer here. And we'll get our pause going into tomorrow. And then your 2 scenarios are we just continue up, or you get that quick dump and then a move higher just to clear out this. And anyone getting long here, you just want to clear them out. You could go as low as 67.50. So potential scenario I could see. And they've done that many times, right? Every time, like I said, that TD7 and 8 comes in, you get that kind of pullback. So that's my expectation. But we have broken out here, so you could even say ABCD and then something like that, assuming we don't get a pullback. That points to the top of this parallel channel, which looks better on a log chart. But we did break down from it briefly. I'm amazed that we came back within the channel. I've wanted to kind of redraw this channel to see if there was any way that it could be adjusted to fit that pullback. Like, is there any way that it was potentially incorrect, too steep, and the pullback should have fit inside it. I guess something like this could have potentially been drawn. You know, a lot of tags at the midpoint level. And then you can see we're at, yeah, I think this is a bit better. Kind of crossing around this part as well here. Yeah, nice touches all around here. I like when it lines up well like that. I'm gonna lock that and save it. And you can see how we're just climbing up this midpoint, providing the resistance. And if we can break through, we'll quickly go up to this, you know, 7,000 area. I mean, we'll see what gamma positioning is like next week. That's gonna kind of tell us, like, will we get that pullback to the downside, or are we gonna keep just slowly grinding higher, which is what's happening right now. But I wouldn't expect anything big until next week. You know, just kind of let this play out. That's on the S&P. Tesla, of course, I got to talk about Tesla. So big move on Tesla. And you can see how the weekly had a bit of a pullback and now is pushing higher on the RSI. And if we go to a daily, problem with the daily is you're at the midpoint resistance zone and you've got a TD8. So again, kind of matching the rest of the market where, you know, you had this breakout, looks good, but you could get a bit of a pause and a pullback. So maybe we could rally a little bit higher and then you get that pullback and then you can get your final move up to this 57.70, 577 target that I have. That's the potential move there. We've come a long way since 220. Nice moves by Tesla overall. Still bullish, still looks like it's just consolidating before the next move. I mean, you can see how it works, right? You sit in a zone, and then within 1 week, you move to the next zone. You sit in that zone, and then within 1 week, you'll probably move to the next zone. So the question is, you know, when do we move to that next zone? And I would say it's getting close. You can see the last breakout here, and then the next one is kind of building up, but it might be a little bit longer. It's gonna happen when the rest of the market kind of moves higher. I did well on recent Tesla longs on this move, and I mentioned in my little room that I took profits on that. Same with Intel, right? I talked about Intel a bunch. Yeah, Intel recently had a rejection, you know, on a TD7 that came in, and now we've got a bit of a divergence building. Not great on the weekly chart, but I don't think it's done yet. I still think it wants to go up to that 450, 480 area. If you look at gamma data and dealer positioning, you could see why it kind of rolled over where it did, because dealers were positioned at this 42 yet level, and they had to sell when it reached that level to stay profitable, apparently. Sell/hedge. So that's Intel. Really no play on that right now. You know, one that did look good to me, so Blink Charging. Blink Charging is quite oversold here. So it had a nice little run up and then a big pullback. And if we look at something like 4.669, actually that didn't work well at all. All right, let's get rid of, is there an extension? 8.77, did it tag that? Yeah, it went right to the 8.77 tag. Look at that. So you could say like this is leg 1, right, like that. And then this is potentially leg 2, which puts you to like 480 area. If you go down like to a daily chart, you can see the reversal. I like the reversal on this, and we could even do like a tighter ABCD where our initial point was here, and then we go this, and then your target is like 355, which is the top of the range for this previous consolidation area. So that's a nice, you could even buy it right now, set a stop at the lows, and then your target is there, and it's a 9-to-1 risk reward trade. Something to consider. I recently bought a bunch of it, and I thought it looked good. Another one is Oracle. Oracle looked like it could be, bottoming nicely here. The daily just broke out. You could buy here. You could hope for like a little bit of a pullback on the pullback that I was talking about with S&P. If we get that, Oracle could do something like this and just boop, and maybe even takes out that low, and then you get your move higher. Would be a nice, let's say you can get that move down here. You set your stop at the low point, and your target is maybe right up here. We don't surpass the highs. We just get to that resistance point, and you've got almost a 5-to-1 risk reward. I mean, even if you took it right now, your target, you still get an almost 3-to-1 risk reward trade. So I do like this. The Oracle and Blink Charging both look good to me, and I picked some up yesterday on both of those. Let me see if I have anything else in Stockland that I recently picked up. Portfolio, Oracle, Intel. I think we can look at Lululemon and Nvidia, and also a name called OPAD. So this name OPAD, this also looks good. Is very similar to Blink Charging, and you could say it could give you some kind of ABCD. It has a weekly TD9 here, and we can reach up to this $11 area. You're at $2 right now, so you could get a big move on this. Why is the red area so huge? Yeah, so something like, could actually put quite a wide stop on this, not necessarily at the lows, but maybe a bit lower, and then your target is right here, which is a 20-to-1 risk reward, which is just ridiculous. I mean, you could even do in the money calls if you really want to get crazy on this one, but I bought, let me see, I just bought stock only, so I bought about 5,000 shares of this, and it could be a really good play. OfferPad Solutions. I don't know anything about the company. Don't ask me about the fundamentals, but looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Maybe the fundamentals are terrible. Check that if you're concerned about it. But as far as a technical perspective, this looks really good to me. And if we just take the range, right? So from here to here, I would like to take that bigger one. $4 could be a potential even stretch target, and that gives you a double. But I think, farther out, you can go to that 8.77, and then I bet we have a 16.88 up there. Yeah, look at that. So you get your 16.88 right there, and it can happen quick. And if we go up to here, so 7.68, 618, that could be your first sell zone. You could take profit, and you've got a 365-day moving average. So maybe when you get a double, you sell a third or a half, sell half on a double type thing, and then you let the rest ride. Maybe you get that $11 target. So I like that one. Lululemon. Yeah, so Lululemon on a daily does have an 8 here. Maybe wait for a pullback. But on a weekly, you've got a nice W bottoming range forming here. And you could potentially target 280. So let's say you get a pullback, and you set your stop at 150, and your target is right up to the middle of the range here from where it was for a long time, which would make sense for a retrace. Even if the company is not doing well, you get a retrace. Keep in mind, earnings though are next week, so things could be a bit. Well, is it next week? When is that? Yeah, next week, next Thursday. But you could set up a target for 278, which is a 5.5-to-1 risk reward ratio, 58% return. So Lululemon looks nice. And then finally, I talked about these before, Nvidia and Meta, but Nvidia had quite a pullback. We hit that 4.669 level. Next potential is 8.77 that we could tag. Makes sense. We had a pause here and a reversal considering that 4.669. But the daily is reversing here. You know, it looks like it's trying to turn around. So basically you've got, if we look at RSI, that's your breakout right there. So big breakout on NVIDIA, and we can actually draw it. We can say like this is our range. And you can see that points to about 269. Where was our old one? 264. So yeah, that 8.77 is accurate. And we may head into that zone, and it looks like we're breaking out to the upside. I mean, if you want to go to a kind of a smaller range, see this is all over the place, that would be like a more conservative one, or you just go to 219. But NVIDIA could break higher and pull everything up. I mean, it's crazy that, you know, a stock at this high of a valuation could keep going higher, but that's the potential. That's what it looks like. Weekly still doesn't look great, but on the daily you've got a nice reversal here. So this triggers a buy for me. So I bought NVIDIA. What else? I mean, we can look at things like coin and crypto. They pretty much bottomed out. So coin, you had a breakout on November 25th after you had this TD9. If we go to a weekly chart doesn't look great. So we could consolidate in this area further. But on a daily, you did have this breakout, and now the question is just do we continue or do we roll over? Which is the same question for Bitcoin. I mean, we can get this answer from Bitcoin by looking at Bitcoin and analyzing it. Before I jump to Bitcoin, I want to look at, so SBET is an Ethereum holding company similar to MSTR. It looks like it's created a bottom here. You could target like 17, which is a nice 50% return. And you can see as far as retracement, if this was the low and this is the high, yeah, it's in the log. We went actually way below the original levels. That's crazy to see. Yeah, so we went way below the original zone, but there's a 30-day VWAP here, 90-day, decent reversal area. We didn't fill the gap though, which bothers me a little bit, but it does look like it's trying to reverse. On a weekly chart, you have a TD9. So even if you don't go back to all-time highs, you can just take this range and you can say, okay, maybe it gets back to just 38.2, which is 53. So you get a 5x from here. So you could buy it right now, right? Why is the downside ridiculous? To hell. You just set your stop below the lows and you target that 53 area. And you've got a 360% return, 14-to-1 risk return. Yeah, probably most of the holding companies look like this. So, oh, Cotter mentioned something he likes. All right, so Cotter is very good at predicting charts, everybody. So anyway, I bought some SBET. Again, just stock, no options. Oh wow, okay, so this one could double, right? Getting rejected by this trend line. I wanna see it on the other end of that trend line. You also have a TD8 here. You've got a TD8, TD9 actually on the daily. I like this as a buy if it can pull back. I don't like it, or if we can, you know, get over this trend line and base a bit here, and then I could see the move higher. It's not bad. Maybe it has better fundamentals than some of the stuff I talked about. By the way, for NVIDIA, I want to note, also UNH, right? So I talked about UNH before. I still hold a big bag of UNH. I bought a lot down here when it initially crashed. I talked about it a huge amount. You have a nice ABCD all the way up to 480. So that's kind of the bottom end of the range from where it's at all of, 2021 to eventually 2025 before the crash. And that leads you right into like our kind of take profit zone, which would be, 460 to 560, that whole zone. So UNH looks really good to me, and I still have a big bag of that, and I actually added to it So weekly is still in the bull area, and the daily chart is breaking out again to the upside. So if the rest of the market can rally, you know, I think UNH can do really well. So that's another one I thought I'd touch on that I think looks decent. And I want to note that I am playing NVIDIA. So NVIDIA and Tesla, just to let you know, so like NVIDIA, I'm playing with MVD, which is so this one, not NVIDIA on the GetX. It's Granite Shares 2x short NVIDIA. So when you play like a 2 or 3x ETF, they kind of they have decay. They decay over time. So the way I like to play it is I take advantage of that decay and I actually short them. So this one I'm short. So I'm short. So I get, if NVIDIA goes up, I get a 2x return plus whatever the decay is. And that's how I like to play things that I have high confidence in. Same with Tesla. I have Tesla Q. So Tesla Q is a 2x short. So I've been essentially short this to generate my Tesla returns, which as you can see, it's at 27%, which is decent, you know. So that's how I'm playing that rather than just straight Tesla. You can see with Tesla, right? So since this little rally here, basically only 15%, so doing quite a bit better. What else? I went over Oracle. I went over UNH. That's about it. I mean, Meta. So Meta is a big thing. Meta had quite a rally. We talked about Meta down here. I was really bullish on Meta. It's already rallied quite a bit. I think it'll have a bit of a pullback, but I'm up quite a bit on Meta. So very happy with the Meta play. I offloaded actually a good amount here, and I haven't offloaded more, but if we get a pullback, I'll look to probably buy a bit more. I think it should head higher to fill this gap. I'm very bullish on Meta, Tesla, and Google because I think they have, you know, AI is the future, and the future of AI is dependent on how much data you have. And I think Meta, Tesla, and Google have the most data in the world. Like Google has the entire Google ecosystem. Meta has, you know, all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that. And Tesla through XAI, Twitter, has all of that data, which is a massive database. So don't underestimate, you know, the power of that. And with Google, the reason Google took off is because Gemini 3 is really good. Like that's why this took off, because Gemini 3 just, you know, destroys ChatGPT. Like I wish I longed Google. I really didn't. I think it's topping out here, though, to be fair. Not yet, but you do have a TD7 on the weekly. It's a bit late for Google, unfortunately. Yeah, some Meta, big on that. Not ETA. I don't know what that is. Okay, so that's stocks. Hopefully I gave you enough stocks to look at and a couple ideas to buy. We can look at Bitcoin quickly, see what's going on here. So on a weekly chart, first of all, we're still in this uptrend, right? We haven't broken down. We just came down to the lower area. I mean, if we went into the 75K area, there was potential for a quick wick into that area. It didn't happen. A weekly is at the bottom of the range, looking like it's getting ready to reverse, kind of like here. Last time we dumped, it took March to April. Let's just do a little date range. So from the final low to starting to rally, it took about 35 days. And right now we're at, I think, just 2 weeks. Yeah, 14 days. So maybe we've got to go a little bit further, 28 days, 30 days. It could go longer, right? This went on for months, but I don't think it's going to be like that here. Especially with Bank of America and Vanguard coming out and saying, you know, as of either immediately or at the beginning of January, they're going to allow 1 to 4% of their clients' funds to be invested in crypto. That's going to bring a lot of liquidity. So yeah, if we look at on a daily chart, Bitcoin crossed over on a daily chart, and I'm kind of pissed. I missed this a bit, but this was my like quintessential buy strategy. So if there's a daily crossover, a bullish one, let me adjust this, flip it. All right, and then so this high to this low. Actually, it should be this low here. So if there's a daily crossover, and part of the reason I missed this is because I was looking for 78.6 and we didn't hit it. We only came down to 61.8, which is a very bullish sign, by the way. Yeah, glad to hear, Cotter. We're gonna redo all the tools into things that at least I personally know work for sure. And I'm not gonna try to reinvent the wheel, but I'm gonna try to kind of get data that we already know works, but is hard to understand, and then translate it into something that's way easier to understand. Like right now, even the GEX data, for me, I like copying it into ChatGPT, or not ChatGPT, sorry, Gemini, and having Gemini kind of give me its idea of what's going to happen the next day, and it's more accurate. It's very accurate, actually. Like I prefer it over me trying to just understand it myself. Although I do that, and I'm working on getting better with it, but it's amazing how well AI can understand it and translate it into something that is extremely easy for anyone to understand. And we, at TRI, Sjord has his own personal AI system, private server and everything, that we can kind of offload a lot of data analysis to, and then do something that I think most companies are not doing right now. And so I hope to, that's also why we didn't run any Black Friday specials this year or anything like that. Just because Sjord and I think that we can rebuild the tools from the ground up into something that is going to be far more useful than the current tools. I'm not saying the current tools are bad, but I think I want to give you guys access to data that's hard to get access to, and in an easy to understand way. There's other platforms that have a lot of this data, but it's just more confusing stuff, and it's not worth it. It's a headache. Anyway, all right, I got all distracted. Okay, so this was my buy setup, and I missed it, and I'm pissed. So now we're here, and the question is, right, do we continue higher, or do we roll over and have one more, drop down to the lows? Maybe we even wick to 76. Like that's what everyone's talking about. And I mean, what I can tell you is that this green line and this green line are liquidity zones. So they already took out this one yesterday. We can actually get rid of that. The next liquidity zone is at 90K. We can actually go through this together a bit. I think they're useful, but also not useful. So in the short term, right, 93K, maybe that's tagged first. And if we go to like a 48, oh, actually you have 94K. Wow. So a lot of this liquidity got taken out. You can see the 91K this got taken out yesterday. Even the 1 week is gone now. There was liquidity down here. Here we go. Okay, so there's 83K, but it's far away. Like the likelihood that we tag this, I think, is low. And even on a 1 month, right, you've got like at 70K. I don't see how Bitcoin could go to 70K and survive and bounce back. Like I don't see it. Although you could say that this is a bear flag, right? You could make the case right there that that's a bear flag, right? And then, this was your first. I'm going to be a little bit more conservative. That's your first AB, and that's your next CD, and then that brings you right to 70K, right? So that you could make that case, and then we tag this liquidity zone in the 70K area. I don't think it's the main case, and I think it's you're making a mistake basing your analysis off that, especially with all the liquidity coming in. As you saw in my thumbnail, Powell's printing, Trump's whipping him to get him to print more. QT's ended, and we've got interest rates being lowered. So you'd have to see a kind of a catastrophic market event to pull you down into that area. So then if we're only thinking about the next couple days, which is all we should be thinking about, because I'll talk to you again in a few days, then it looks like on the upside is the main liquidity, right? I don't see anything down below. Everything points to 93. And I should actually update my chart to get rid of that 90K liquidity zone, because it's gone now. Everything points to this 93, 94K area. Oh, that's my... so I'm going to remove this red line. And this was the big liquidity zone, by the way, for me. But I'm gonna add another one here to show that there's a 93K liquidity. And I think, was there a 94? So that's like 94, 95 of that area. If we go to 48 hour, I think that was 94, almost 94.8, 24. You can see how it narrows as we go lower, 93. So this whole range up to like maybe 95. So we can actually double this and raise it kind of up to this 95 area, which lines up with my resistance zone, and lines up also with the bullishness I'm seeing. Now you can see we had this big rally and we're having this pullback. So what they're doing here is they're taking out anyone that was long, that got long since the rally from December 2nd, Tuesday, because they need that liquidity to fuel a move higher. And as of right now, we haven't reversed, right? So I'm waiting. I want to see this 1 hour reverse. But if my theory is that, this is just a pullback and we're not going to get any kind of further massive pullback. And actually, if we adjust this, right, yeah, so we actually crossed over. On a 30-minute, we crossed over, and this would be considered a bullish pullback for me. So right now what I'm doing is I'm adding to longs. So I have little longs coming in with the expectation that we are just taking out some liquidity before eventually moving higher to take out right here, 93, and then eventually 95, and you can see how well that lines up. So that's what I'm seeing with Bitcoin. I don't see us going much lower. I'm pissed I missed this. It happened very fast, but it was a really obvious long. I was just waiting for a little bit lower right here. So you can see crossing my 30-minute trend line. I should set that to once per bar close. That's better. Yeah, that's all I've kind of have. I think once that happens, we'll get further consolidation, and then we'll eventually break higher. I think the pullback's kind of over. I would like to see a TD8, TD7, TD8 on the weekly. It doesn't look like that's come in yet, but I've kind of laid out both scenarios, and in the short term, I expect a bit of a dip, and then a move higher to hit 93, and then eventually 95,000. That's kind of in the short term. Ethereum, something similar. It took out this liquidity here, and there was liquidity there yesterday. I'd have to check again, but you can see on a daily chart we also broke out, and we're just struggling with this midpoint. Liquidity is at 37, but I think you're gonna run into issues at 33 first. We can look at that really quick. What's up with the piano? Sorry, that's my background like alert noise. So 32,400 and 3,200. So maybe they take you out to 31.25 and then head higher. We can go out to like a 3-day. Interesting on the 3-day with Ethereum. Yeah, so nothing on a 1 week. Farther out like this, these don't really, I think they don't matter that much when it's so far away. I stopped focusing on liquidity a while ago, but I have come back to it and think that on these lower time frames they do matter. It's these higher time frames that always mess me up. But like 3-day, 4-day, 3-day, 48 hour, 24 hour, I think they're useful. I don't really see us tagging these. More so, I'm looking at on the upside. Yeah, so 3240 and 3200. So 3200, 3240. Does that line up? That's right here at this midpoint. So I want to add this red line here. Oops. Right there. You know, I could tag that area as an initial resistance zone. But as of right now, it's pulling back, right? So, you know, you should look for potential longs on this pullback before we move higher. And maybe you can get something like this. And if we don't move much lower, you know, that's our 32.40. So maybe you get a move to here, 31.26 before it then moves up. And that's in the short term, just over the next like 24 hours, 48 hours maximum. And then, you know, we'll review later what happens from there. All right, guys, I gotta go. It's almost 1 p.m. here. I have to be somewhere. Gym, actually, workout. Have a great weekend. I will see you next week. Same time, same place. Well, hopefully, you know, earlier, 10 a.m. I'll try to set a schedule like far in advance so you get an alert. Like when the schedule, like it says schedule stream to start in 2 hours or 3 hours or something, and there's a countdown. I think that'll help to keep me on schedule a little bit better and alert everyone. Yeah, have a great weekend, everybody, and I will talk to you on the